What's next for Subaru? Their sales are through the roof compared to a decade ago. Their models are updated, well received, and competitive, and they seem to have a model in just about every single segment, except for one important one, which we'll talk about later. But what can Subaru do to usher in continued success for the Japanese automaker? And today we'll look at their sales figures and their model lineup, bust out the spreadsheet, and throw some ideas around it which will take Subaru to that next level. Welcome back, Luxurious Fleet. If you're new, my name is Kirk. I talk about Japanese and Korean autos. Subscribe if you enjoy that sort of topic content, etc. And let's get into what can make Subaru even better than they already are. Starting with the sales figures, back in 2005, they're selling about 175,000 units a year. And that stayed until about 2009, when we saw an uptick of over 200,000 units for the first time ever in Subaru's history in the United States. And then it's just taken off like a rocket ever since. And it's really quite incredible. Incline here from 2011 to 2015 is just mind-boggling. They doubled their sales in 4 years. And by 2019 and 2020, you know, with COVID and everything, we're not going to get too much into the numbers this year, but they're okay. They're doing okay compared to everyone else. In 2019, they hit over 700,000 units compared to 2007 with 169. That's about 4 times more sales, a little bit more. 4 times more sales in 1 year. So think about it like this. They sold more cars per quarter in 2019 than they did in the entire year of 2007. That's incredible. Busting over the spreadsheet, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's a lot of information up at once, but we're gonna break it down model by model. And you'll see a trend here. All these new models that Subaru's coming out with is on their Subaru Global platform. It's kind of a scalable architecture, very similar to Toyota's TNGA architectures. They can really scale big time with this sort of manufacturing and design language. So I don't see a design happening for the Impreza for a long time, even though in theory it could come out in 2021. But since it's already on the newest architecture, I don't really see any major changes happening in the near future. It still has the FB20, the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. How much longer, I don't know. We'll dive into some engine options here in the future in a little bit. It gets 31 miles per gallon, a very modest 152 horsepower. Looking at the sales figures here, you know, back in 2007, it sold 46,000 units. Why am I saying 2007? Because that was their worst selling year in recent history, I should say. And you look in 2017 when they introduced that new Impreza, it had they sold almost 90,000 units, and even in 2019, still holding on with very impressive numbers. And that is, in my opinion, it's impressive because sedans, hatchbacks, they don't sell traditionally very well in America, but the Impreza continues to do well. All-wheel drive being a part of it, we'll talk about that later and why that's been integral to their success, but it's just a part of their identity. Legacy. 2020 got updated on the new global platform. It has 2 engine options. You have the FB25 2.5-liter 4-cylinder with a modest 182 horsepower, 176 pound-feet of torque. Gets you about 30 miles per gallon. You have the optional engine now of the FA24F, which is in the Outback as well as the Ascent, and that gives you tons of torque, tons of horsepower from a smaller turbocharged engine. And the fuel economy really doesn't drop off much. So I thought that was impressive. Sales figures for the Legacy, you know, what do you expect for sedans? We only have the Legacy sedan. We don't have any wagons or hatchbacks like you might see a Lavorg across the seas. I'll talk about that briefly today, but you can just see that the sales really dropped off. Well, this would have been because of the financial crisis here. But look at the recovery it had in 2016, and it's dropped a little bit, and I don't really expect it to recover to 60,000 units ever again. I just don't. That's not the world and market we live in. Everything is SUVs. Getting into SUVs, Crosstrek. Incredible selling vehicle for them. Getting into the sales figures, 2018 peaked at 144,000 units. Very, very impressive. Now this shares pretty much everything with Impreza. It's on the new Subaru global platform, and it actually got a new engine this year. It's had the FB20 engine, same thing as the base Impreza, but it gets the FB25, which is the base engine for the Legacy, but it is the optional engine here on the Crosstrek. And we'll talk about hybrids, e-boxers in a little bit as well. After that comes the next step up, the Forester, which was just redesigned on the global platform. Its base engine is the FB25. In other markets, it gets a new turbo engine, a 1.8 CV18 Turbo 4. This was just announced like a week or two ago that the Forester is getting a small displacement turbocharged engine. And if we look at the horsepower here, it's actually down in horsepower compared to the FB25. But the CV18, what it gives up in horsepower, it makes up massively in torque. The driving characteristics of these small turbocharged engines are miles different compared to the larger naturally aspirated counterparts. Not only is it going to get you more acceleration, more instant grunt when you need it, it's going to give you better fuel economy. Now that's going to come with more complexity, more maintenance, etc., because it's turbocharged, but there are some impressive trade-offs going that route. Outback just redesigned for 2019, same engines as the Legacy. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it's a great selling vehicle. Let's go back real quick to sales. Forester has pretty much plateaued at 100. It's crazy how many units, 175,000, 180,000 units for the Forester. Now that we're talking about the Outback, it sells about the same, about 180,000 units, maybe a little bit more. To me, that's crazy that a larger model, more expensive model outsells just by a little bit its lesser expensive brethren. Outback outsells the Forester and the Crosstrek, and you wouldn't expect that based off of price, right? Does that make sense? I hope you guys are following me there. The newest addition to the Subaru lineup, which is a huge one, is the Ascent. And it uses a turbo 4-cylinder, the FA24F, with 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. And it's been extremely well received. I haven't had a chance to drive one yet, but I hope to review one fairly soon-ish in the next year or so for the channel. So stay tuned for more car reviews as well, because I do that on occasion. And looking at the Ascent, the first year, which wasn't on sale the full year, sold an impressive 36,000 units. 2019, 81,000 units. I would not be surprised in the next year or two for it to crack 100,000 units per year easily. Should be able to do that easily. Its main competitors are going to be like the Mazda CX-9, the Toyota Highlander. You have the Telluride now, as well as the Palisade. So there's a lot of competition in that market, but it's a huge market, and I think they'll do really well there. Now to their sport car offerings, which is a huge part of Subaru's identity. Their rally racing, their WRXs, their STIs, that's a huge part of their identity, and we need to talk about it. The current WRX and STI, well, the STI is not even in production anymore, but the WRX it's old. It's only old relatively because it came out in 2014, but if you look at all these models here, it's like 2018 and newer for the most part. We should be getting the new one next year. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of hype about it. It currently has the FA20F Turbo 4. I don't know if it's going to get rid of that or not. I think it's a pretty good engine. It replaced some of the EJ engines for the WRX. Now the STI in its last form, which was I believe last year, it got around 300 horsepower and around 300 pound-feet of torque. Okay, the FA20, it's a smaller displacement engine, but it's capable of up to 295 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Now, the new STI should be getting some version of the FA24, which we've seen the Ascent, the Outback, the Legacy, but they say that they can tune it to 350 to 400 horsepower. So it'll be really fun to see what they do with that. And then lastly, the BRZ86. Make sure to subscribe to my channel because I will be live streaming. I believe it's on the 18th, 8 a.m. Central Time. I will be live streaming the unveil of the BRZ. And I hate to break it to you guys if you're in Europe, the BRZ doesn't look like to be coming to Europe and most parts of the world. It looks like it's going to be Japan and the North American markets, but we have to wait for confirmation. But that's the things we're hearing recently. It's been around for a long time. It's the oldest model in the lineup right now. It's got the FA20, which is rumored to be replaced by an FA24 naturally aspirated, 218 horsepower, 175 pound-feet of torque, and we're all excited for it. Would we love to have an FA24 turbocharged option? Of course, but the thing is, it also has a twin called the Toyota 86. And if it had that sort of horsepower and torque, it would be infringing upon the Supra 2.0s in the Toyota lineup. I don't see them doing it. If they do it, they do offer it as a Subaru product, maybe as a BRZ STI. We would love to see it as a GR86 as well, but I just don't see it happening with the Supra kind of holding that spot down. Now, I love that it has a 6-speed manual. I love that it has a real 6-speed automatic as well, compared to all the CVTs pretty much in the rest of the Subaru lineup. The Levorg is over here. I just felt like making a side note of it. It's a really cool, kind of like a wagon that we don't get here in America. It's available in many parts of the world, but it's a really good looking wagon from Subaru with that 1.8 liter turbo 4 that is going to be also seen in the Forester in many markets. Not here in the United States yet, but that will be the future. Why has Subaru been so successful in these past few years? I think it does. We don't have to overcomplicate it. They're practical, all-wheel drive. They're also very fuel efficient, despite having all-wheel drive. Typically, when you get all-wheel drive in a vehicle, it hogs down the efficiency. Not in Subarus. They do a really good job keeping the practicality across the board. All-wheel drive, very affordable too. They have a winning recipe. They also like to cater to certain markets. We know how well they do in mountain areas in the United States, as well as the Pacific Northwest. Like Subaru, that's Subaru country. It's insane how many models they sell. It's like a part of the culture there and the sort of lifestyle that Subaru wants to bring. Outdoorsy, active. They claim to be like the #1 auto brand for dogs. And with the Ascent, they're trying to branch into the families a little bit more, but they also have a really large demographic, from the sport models, the WRX STIs, the BRZs, to young people, young, sporty, aggressive, you know what I'm saying, to practical, very frugal offerings on their lower end of the lineup. And then they have the more luxurious, in a sense, with the Outback and the Ascent, appealing to so many different types of people. So the product stack is very, very well filled out. From old people to young people, they really do a wonderful job hitting many, many different demographics. But what could be missing? Missing products for Subaru? Well, we remember the Subaru Baja. Maybe you don't, okay? It is something of a legend in my memory anyways. And I think that would be a wonderful area of opportunity for Subaru to bring back a pickup-like vehicle. It doesn't have to be body on frame. I know that those sort of things kind of can be very expensive to develop, but we hear Hyundai developing the Santa Cruz, which is based off the Tucson, and that's a small pickup truck. We would love to see, I personally would love to see a small pickup truck to even further enhance their lineup and their offerings. We know Honda does it with the Ridgeline, and that's not body on frame, it's a unibody based off the Honda Pilot. It would be cool to see some sort of pickup truck based off of the Ascent or even the Outback, to give them even a wider range of products and opportunities to sell to more demographics. Toyota, why do I bring up Toyota? Toyota owns like 20% of Subaru, and that brings me into the next part here for a couple things. CVTs and hybrids. Most people are not too fond on CVTs. However, they do get good gas mileage, and they do provide inexpensive, as long as they're reliable, they provide very inexpensive ways for these manufacturers to make transmissions. They're a little bit cheaper, from my understanding, than traditional multi-speed transmissions. However, Toyota has arguably one of the best CVTs on the market with its direct shift CVT. It has a real first gear. We see on the UX200, we see it in some of the Corolla products, and it's fairly new. It's only been out for about 3 years now. I feel like they could use that technology that Toyota has developed, since Toyota owns a large part of Subaru, to enhance their CVTs. Give it a real first gear, and I really feel like that would help out if they're going to put a CVT in the WRX again. We know it has a 6-speed manual, but the automatic is a CVT, and no one's super keen about that. But they have a real first gear in it, and then CVT simulated gears, or just CVT droniness after that. I think that's a step in the right direction, okay, of getting the most out of a CVT. Next part of Toyota, which is a part of their future and their current situation right now, is electrification. Here in the States, there's a Crosstrek hybrid. I don't know if I'll ever see one. They sell them in very low volume for certain markets like California and other states that abide by those emissions regulations. But it's actually a plug-in hybrid, and it shares its technology from the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid called the Prius Prime. And it has about 148, 150 horsepower total. It gets 35 miles per gallon, 17 miles of plug-in range with a small 8.8 kilowatt hour battery. It has dual motors. It operates on about 120 horsepower when it's in fully electric mode. They have e-Boxers across the world, not here in the United States, which is more of your typical hybrid, but we don't see those here in the United States, and I don't know if we'll ever see an e-Boxer here in the United States, but we do get the Crosstrek hybrid, which I know a lot of other markets don't get, with the plug-in hybrid technology from Toyota. And I feel like that would be a great implementation to hybridize their lineup here in the States going forward. They don't need to go fully hybrid anytime soon here in the States, but if they offer those plug-in hybrids on the Outback, on the Forester, maybe the Legacy as well, and maybe even the Ascent. If they're going to put it on some of the larger vehicles, heck, maybe they use the plug-in RAV4 Prime's powertrain. That would be pretty badass, but I feel like that would take away from Toyota sales. But it could happen in the future, maybe 5 years from now, after the RAV4 Prime has, basked in its glory as being a wonderful plug-in hybrid. So I think using Toyota for plug-in hybrids, CVTs, and next would be, well, we know it's going to happen, is fully electric. Subaru is supposed to have a fully electric vehicle based on the eTNGA platform shared with Toyota, and it's supposed to be a crossover. Big surprise, right? Not a whole lot of details are out there. However, Lexus has a trademark called the RZ350, and it's going to be on the same platform as the next Subaru, or I should say the first Subaru fully electric vehicle. Could it share a lot with it? Well, we know it shares a platform, but in terms of powertrain, I think it's possible. My guess would be around 300 horsepower, 300 miles of range out of that RZ350 and whatever the Subaru counterpart would be. It'd be really interesting to see how they team up with Toyota in the future and how much Subaru becomes Toyota in the future, because it's not going to become any less Toyota. It's only going to become more and more integrated with Toyota products in the future. So what did you think of Subaru's recent success? Their very full lineup, very well received, very competitive offerings, and what we'll see in the future from Subaru is going to be pretty much a mirrored reflection of what we'll see in a lot of the Toyota products going forward, for better or for worse. I really think it's for the best for Subaru. You guys might have a different opinion on that. They'll still continue to provide great value, great all-wheel drive, great efficiency, and really good no-compromise products overall in the North American market. So guys, I'll see you in the comments if you made it this far into the video. If you appreciated the spreadsheets and the sales figures that I showed you guys today, make sure to smash the like button. I do enjoy doing deep dives. It helps me learn a lot about the industry, especially about the models and cars that I cover on my channel, which are Japanese and Korean autos. If you guys liked it, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the comments. As always, have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves, love each other, love yourself, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace out.